offer and what they do, but we really don't know what are the attitudes of people when it comes to actually moving. Would you move from point A to point B? So we commissioned a study in 2011 with a company called Ipsos, a small company called Ipsos Public Research. They are the third largest public research company in the world. They're part of the Thomson Reuters organization, so they've got huge capacity in order to conduct global research for us and for other organizations. So we commissioned Ipsos to do the study with us. We went out to the marketplace. We got sponsors to help us bring the report and the project to fruition. And what I'd like to do over the next 15 minutes is share with you some of the results of what we found. So before I do that, let me just share with you why we felt it was necessary, because employers are concerned about their future supply of labor. Our workforce today, our skilled workforce today is global and it's mobile, and we need to find ways in which we can facilitate that. If you understand the needs of that workforce, then you've got valuable currency today in understanding what are the things that you need to be able to provide to your employees or your assignees in order to have them accept those assignments in the locations that you need. And there's also a lack of employee-based data, as I mentioned. We've got a pretty good idea in terms of what companies will offer, but is there a mismatch in that? So the study was conducted in 26 countries. There were 12,500 people, working people, that participated in the study. We asked them some basic questions about what was the likelihood of you wanting to relocate to a foreign country. So the basic question was this: Tad, would you take an international assignment for 2 to 3 years, we'll pay all of your moving expenses, and we'll give you a raise in pay of about 10%. So it was very straightforward, very kind of simple questions. And as you can see, 25% globally, people globally, 25% said that they would be likely, very likely, to want to relocate. Now that was an increase of about 6% over what we found in 2011. 32% said they were somewhat likely, and 19% that they were not likely to want to move. Now you can see that these were the countries that participated in the survey. The highest percentage is in Mexico, so over almost 40%. So 4 in 10 workers in Mexico said that, I would be very likely to accept the move, whereas people in Canada, Germany, Australia, Sweden, less likely to want to move. And so as we look at this study, there are the worksheets behind this. There are 1,000 spreadsheets. There are 1,000 Excel spreadsheets. And it breaks all of this data down by industry, by occupation, by country, demographics. Pretty well, we can slice and dice the data in many, many different ways. So, if, for example, if we said, well, what occupations in Turkey, people living in Turkey, from what industries are they from, what age groups are they, what level of position are they in their organization, how likely are they to want to accept the move. We combine that, of course, with, well, okay, you may be very likely or not at all likely, but what's that group in the middle, that undecided voter kind of piece? And so when you lump those together, that 25% actually jumps up to 57%. And again, you can see that in a number of Great Britain, Italy, Canada, France, people in Belgium and Japan seem very reluctant actually to want to move around. France as well. I'm not sure what those, I know in Japan I know the reasons, but I'm not sure why that reason, why the low likelihood of workers in Belgium and France. Where would you like to relocate to then, Tad? What's your favorite country to go to? No surprise, I think, that the United States was the top country. So the top four were kind of predictable in terms of where people would like to move to. So that just gives you a sense, I think, in terms of where people would be interested to move to. We also found out that workers in the following industries had a higher propensity to want to move. Those industries were the telecom industry, the IT industry, and then in third place was the construction industry. So we then said, well, okay, what would be some motivation that your employer could provide to you that would make you more likely to accept to move? I'm sorry, I've seen a lot of you furiously write. I should have said this at the beginning, and I do apologize. These guys are going to put their, Tad and Don, you're going to put the presentation on the EuRA website, and you can access it. Yeah, so you don't have to make all of the notes because there's a lot of data here. So we said, okay, what are some of the incentives that your employer could provide you that you would be interested in moving? And the one thing that stuck out for me particularly was that a guarantee that I can get back to my current role after 2 years. That I've got some way of coming back into my lifestyle, where I currently am. At least that. And that is more important to people than benefits that are being provided. Now, one of the things that I find interesting about this is that in the work that we've done, in the policy research area that we've done with employers around policy, and around relocation policy, is that very, very few of them actually have formal repatriation programs. And those are the things that get people back into their current environment, that kind of safety net, to get them back to their organization. So a 10% raise was really, as you look down this chart, the money is really not as important. An extra week's vacation. And I guess as we slice and dice this by country, we might find that an extra week's vacation for a North American is much higher on the scale than it might be for a European. Because there's lots of differences when you start to look at the kinds of incentives that you can provide, particularly if you're a company that's got global operations. So part of that thinking is that one size does not fit all, right? Like there's plug and play, if you will, in some of these factors. The next piece that I wanted to show you was the country. Here we go. The tuition that's paid for your children ranks rather high in terms of somewhat more likely. So it's more important than providing